Hello, my bookish friends. Welcome or welcome back. I'm Elizabeth. This is Reading Wryly. Today I have a recommendation video for you. I've been feeling like the horror community has been trending toward cosmic. If you've looked up cosmic horror and all you're finding is Lovecraft, you want to find something else, then that's what I'm here to give you, not your average cosmic horror. I am a person who initially was turned off by this subgenre because I think of Cthulhu, I think of Lovecraft, and while I've not actually read Lovecraft, and I do want to, just out of curiosity, I do feel like cosmic horror covers more than just that. So let's look up what cosmic horror is and we'll go from there. According to Google, cosmic horror, also known as Lovecraftian horror, they are so synonymous. It almost makes me feel like there's not room for other parts of cosmic horror, but there are. It's a subgenre of horror fiction that focuses on the fear of the unknown and the incomprehensible. So in my opinion, cosmic horror is so much broader than we give it credit for. It's about just something that exists in this reality that we, up until this point, are just unaware of. Discovering something that we didn't think was reality, but in fact is. It's often characterized by existential dread, often explores themes of the insignificance of human existence, the idea that reality is a thin layer over an alien truth that is incomprehensible. I feel like that's a big Lovecraftian one. The potential for huge entities to destroy the world at any moment, the futility of human existence, the risks of scientific discoveries. That's one that I am particularly interested in, and why I say it veers more towards sci-fi than fantasy. The dangers of forbidden knowledge, that's another one that I'm really interested in, and the influence of non-human beings on humanity. So if that's what you're looking for, you've come to the right place. Before we get into these book recommendations, I do want to take a moment to talk to you quickly about Magic Mind. Ooh, there she is. She's so pretty. I don't know if you're aware, I love Magic Mind. This is a productivity shot for creatives, meant to be for creatives. I know I've been talking to you about Magic Mind for a while now and why I love it, but I want to talk to you kind of about Magic Mind as a company and the things that they promise to their customers, because I do feel like Magic Mind goes above and beyond industry standards to make sure that they are adding value with this product. And absolutely, I believe they are. They promise to only use the world's best suppliers, to require rigorous testing of every ingredient. They promise to readily provide certificates of analysis for their ingredients to anyone who requests them. All you have to do is send an email to hello@magicmind.com, and they promise to inspect every bottle of Magic Mind by hand and to test every batch of Magic Mind they produce in their lab. All of this is with the goal of creating the best drink on the planet for creatives. Magic Mind also offers a 100% money-back guarantee, no questions asked, without asking for the bottles back. They're really sure that you're going to be satisfied with this, and I know I am. I love this product, so I think you will be too. You can get 20% off of Magic Mind with my discount code Wryly20. There's also going to be a link right down below for you to click if you want to just take you right to that. They also have links to studies that show that these ingredients are helpful for your body and what they are helpful for. I really respect the transparency. I encourage you to go check it out yourself if you are curious. So once again, that's 20% off with code Wryly20, and hit that link right down below to take you to that website. And let's talk about these book recommendations. I'm so excited. I haven't been doing book recommendations as often lately. I want to bring them back because these are the fun ones for the very specific requests that people have. So let's start with And Then I Woke Up. This is by Malcolm Devlin. I feel like this got some mixed reviews when it first came out. As of now, it's got a 3.48 on Goodreads. This has so much social commentary, and it's just not your typical horror. There are elements of like zombies in this, but this is not a zombie story. Don't go into this for the zombie story. This is about a pandemic that affects the way we perceive reality, and that is where the kind of cosmic element comes in on this one. One of the big themes about this is the narratives that we are told and the narratives that we believe. And when we have such strong convictions in our beliefs, we can be compelled to do some pretty egregious things. People who are afflicted with this plague, this virus, they see people who are not afflicted with it as zombies. So if you're not afflicted with it, you're being hunted by people who are, until those people wake up. However, some of our characters have found that living without knowing the whole truth might be easier than having to deal with the consequences of their own actions. Yeah, she's just really out there and weird. I really enjoyed this. The next book I want to talk to you about is Ring Shout by P. Djeli Clark. This one I think is very rarely recommended as cosmic horror, but it felt really cosmic to me. This is about the embodiment of hate. This is about hate being personified as a being, a devil,
a monster,
which we feed, okay? This story starts with a real life thing, which is a film called The Birth of a Nation. It's a really, really racist film that was released in 1915. So many people saw this and it spurred hate. People then were inspired to do things like join the Ku Klux Klan and things of the like. So in this story, that happened as it did in reality, but that hate that all gathered at once required energy. And that energy created something. And in this story, the way it works is that people join the Klan and they're not, demons or whatever, but then if they let the hate take them over, then they become a Ku Klux, which is a demon. And then we have this ragtag group of friends that have no idea what they're doing and are trying to win this giant war. At first it was hard for me to get into because I was like, what is happening? You just don't know what's going on when you get dropped into this. And I would say give it at least halfway through because it ends up being so much more heartfelt too than I imagined, but also some of the monster and body horror in this is devastating and disgusting. So if you're into that, then oh my gosh, read this. It's so good. All right, next I want to talk to you about Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. Is it science? Is it supernatural? Is it alien?
We don't know anything.
There's this place, it's called Area X. It's been cordoned off from the rest of the world because some weird stuff is happening. People that go in don't come out the same or they don't come out at all. There has been a literal government agency set up called the Southern Reach to figure out what's going on in Area X. In book 1, Annihilation, we are following, I think it's 4 or 5 women, all women that they're trying on the 12th expedition going into Area X. They're all scientists in different fields. Once they get in there, none of their technology works. So they're just completely isolated. Everything's mutated. It's this really ethereal, beautiful, but terrifying ecosystem where none of the same rules apply, and so there's just no knowing what to expect in here. Literally anything could happen. I just read actually the 2nd book and I'm really excited to get on to the 3rd and now the 4th because the 4th one just came out. I don't think there was even supposed to be a 4th one, but Jeff Vandermeer was like, I'm gonna give you more. So now I'm even more curious and excited to continue reading on in this series. Tune into my wrap up for my review of book number 2, Authority. This next recommendation is not your typical cosmic horror recommendation, but if you're looking for the same type of thing that I am, I think you're gonna like this. The Reformatory by Tananarive Due. Hear me out. Hear me out on this one, because this one is typically recommended as ghosty and also just black history, being black horror. It really blends that element of supernatural with spirituality. And for me, this is just my personal opinion, but spirituality kind of comes into that realm of things that are not known that could be. We're following this brother and sister, Robbie and Gloria, in Jim Crow era Florida. They're really struggling at home. They are poor, doing their darndest to get by. And little Robbie makes a mistake protecting his sister when he thinks he's protecting her, and he gets sent away to the Reformatory, hence the title of the book, where some really, really horrible things happen to young boys there. But the element that kind of crisscrosses that supernatural and spirituality for me is that they both have this connection to the earth that gives them kind of power. Robbie can talk to spirits, or what he calls haints. This is an unexplainable thing. We don't really know why. We just know that in this reality, this is true. Gloria has feelings and intuition, a really deep intuition. One of the quotes in here that I feel like really sets the scene is, Florida soil is soaked with so much blood. It's a wonder the droplets don't seep between your toes with every step. And Tananarive Due is such a good storyteller. Like, she really knows when to like sink the knife in, twist it around, and then pull it back, and she makes you feel so connected to these characters, like you need to fight for them. It has so much heart. It's delving into these historical truths in our society that we so often turn a blind eye to, and that as white people it's easy not to talk about, not to teach in schools, but it's real and it's true. And like Ring Shout, that energy cannot be destroyed, but it can be moved around, and when it's moved all together, that can be very dangerous. Very, very dangerous indeed. Please read it. It's long and it's really dark. It's very dark, y'all. Especially like towards the end. Heart-wrenching. It's beautiful. It's an amazing story. Absolutely not your typical cosmic horror, but in my mind, it fits. Next on our list today, we have This Thing Between Us by Gus Moreno. This is a lot of things. This is grief horror. It's also cosmic horror. It also has this element of technology with this thing called the Itza, which is basically Google or Alexa. We're following this man, Thiago. His wife, Vera, has just died unexpectedly and tragically, and her death is now becoming sensationalized in the media and creating kind of political rifts, as you can imagine. I mean, it's not so far from reality, let's be real. Thiago decided that he needs to get out of the city, and so he goes off into this cabin to kind of hide away, deal with his grief, figure out what's going on, but then he starts noticing these really weird things with the Itza. He hears it like talking to somebody, and he's like, well, who? I didn't say anything to the Itza. And again, we hear those sometimes. It gets set off by something, and we're like, what? And it's nothing. But what if it's not nothing? That's the thing. What if it's not nothing? Thiago realizes that something is hunting him, feeding on his grief, and trying to possibly break its way into this world. It's just a cute story. A bold, original horror novel about grief, loneliness, and the oppressive intimacy of technology. It's 272 pages, and it currently has a 3.73 on Goodreads. I'm finding that a lot of these aren't gonna have, it's a very specific flavor. You know, they're not gonna be like 4.2, 4.3 on Goodreads. If it's under 3 for Cosmic, maybe then we can take that with more weight and more meaning. But I think this is gonna be for a very specific person, so that doesn't scare me. 3.73 doesn't scare me. In fact, I think that's pretty good. And by that, I mean it shouldn't scare you. I've already read it. Next, we have a relatively new release. This came out in June, and that is We Used to Live Here by Marcus Kliewer. I only recently read this, and I was very conflicted, but I really liked it. I love these characters. I think if you're a character reader, you're gonna love this one, but it also requires some energy because it goes kind of down this rabbit hole. This is very much, this started on Reddit, and it's one of those Reddit no sleep type of stories. As soon as we learn one thing, it opens up 5 more doors, and then we open up those doors, which open up 5 more doors, and then those
doors each open up 10 more doors after that, and then there's 11 more doors, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18,
thousands of doors, and then you're just sitting there like, what is happening? What is life? What is real? So next, we're gonna talk about, no, I'm just kidding. I'm gonna tell you more about that. This is compared to Get Out meets Parasite. We're following a sapphic couple, Charlie and Eve. Charlie's a house flipper, and they moved into this house because they're going to fix it up and then resell it. Eve is her partner. Eve is so relatable if you have anxiety. She is just such a people pleaser. She's so tightly strung. I just related to that so much. His family comes and knocks on the door. Charlie's not home. Eve opens the door. Hey, what do you want? It's a dad, a mom, and there are 2 kids or 3 kids. The dad says, hey, I used to live here when I was a kid. We're in the neighborhood, and I was hoping I could show my family around the house. Can we just have 5 minutes of your time? Of course, Eve is like thinking, no, get out, go away. But in reality, like she does not, she's a people pleaser. So she's like, maybe I should just give them 5 minutes. Maybe I should call Charlie, and we have her point of view. So we're getting that like back and forth in her mind. Anyway, she lets them in, and it's one of those scenarios where you say like, absolutely not, I would never do that. But then there is this play on, social acceptability, feeling like you can't be rude. You have to stay within those lines of social acceptability. And so once the situation turns into something where it would be rude for her to like ask them to leave, and somehow it graduates to that and escalates to that, and they won't leave. And so we start discovering things about him, about this house, about the people, and you don't know going into it, is this like paranormal? Is there something going on that's like ghosty? Like, I don't know. But then it's more about like how you perceive that. I don't know that I'm doing a good job of explaining this one, but I gave it 3.5 stars. It has 3.79 as well on Goodreads right now, and it is 312 pages. And I think this is where horror is going in this kind of cosmic, where it's like, are we just unaware of the reality? Are we being sheltered by something that if we were to open our eyes to what's going on, we would behave differently? We would have different priorities. It keeps you on your toes. You have to really pay attention, but I loved following these characters, and I think this is a really good example of modern cosmic horror. I have another book recommendation that's along the lines of the Tananarive Due book that I had mentioned earlier, The Reformatory, and that is Jackal. I see so much influence from Tananarive Due in Erin E. Adams' writing, and this was her debut novel, I believe. It's horror, but it could be categorized under like mystery or fantasy, because there are some elements in here that cannot be explained by our reality. Again, this blends the supernatural and the spiritual, and we're following this woman, Liz Roche, and she's coming back home to her small Pennsylvania town where it's like a mostly white population. She's coming back for her best friend's wedding. But something happens at the wedding. Her best friend's daughter disappears into the woods, and we start to understand that there is something going on in this town with the woods and with Black people. They are disappearing. They have been found with their hearts ripped from their chests, but nobody's acknowledging it. Nobody's talking about it. And so Liz, she was supposed to be watching the little girl, so she feels very responsible, and she is going to delve in and figure out where she went and get her back for her friend and try to make everything right. But she comes across some obstacles that she was not expecting along the way. There is this kind of parable, I don't know what they're called, like a little sing-songy thing that people say around the town to kind of warn you away from the woods. A man and his shadow live in the trees. When they walk in time, both are pleased. If one calls your name or the other tempts you off your path, you must ignore both or face their wrath. And so that comes into play, obviously. But she uses folklore, and there's a lot of Haitian heritage influence in here as well, to make the reader question what's real and what's not, and to examine what could be possible in the real world. This is about Black and brown women and children going missing and what it takes for somebody to do something about it. It's also about Black people in white spaces, having to share white spaces, and how in that situation it might feel like they're pitted against each other, like there's only room for one person to succeed, and therefore it's like we are now enemies. There's that whole thing in there. Examination of the feeling of otherness and not feeling like you belong in general. Just a really awesome debut novel. So if you haven't read this one yet, go for it, do it. I can't tell you what the cosmic element is because that would spoil this, but there is also a lot about like just celestial things and the stars in here, and that is not, I'm not confusing that, so don't think I'm confusing that. There's another element in here. Just read it and I think you will understand. Next, I want to tell you about a book that I recently read that, again, I couldn't really fit it into a category. I was like, what is this? And so it makes me feel like it fits kind of into that cosmic horror category as well, and that is The Watchers by A.M. Shine. You could also call this like monster horror, but we don't really know what the Watchers are. This story is very interesting. I think it's based off of some kind of like Irish folklore or something, and so this kind of brings into that like spiritual thing as well. Like, is it something that's real that we just don't know exists? Like, what is going on in here? We're following Mina. She's our main character. I really love her. She's trying to deliver this bird that's this yellow bird that can talk. It's called the yellow one. She pulls up to this forested area and her car just shuts off. Everything shuts off in these woods at that point. Again, this is something that like we can't explain, but maybe there is an explanation that we just don't know about yet. She gets out of the car, she starts walking, she sees this woman and she's like urging her to come quickly into this bunker and she's counting down like 5, 4, and she runs in there. The woman shuts the door. They're safe. What are they safe from? The Watchers. The Watchers live in these woods. They only come out at night. Mina finds herself in this bunker with an entire glass wall. When nightfall comes, the light automatically turns on out there. The monsters, the Watchers, can see all of their people. There's, I think, 4 or 5 of them that are now trapped in this bunker. They can go out during the day, but if they don't get back before nightfall, terrible things happen. So now she's kind of stuck in this whatever is happening here. And we're trying to figure out for most of this book, what are the Watchers? What do they do? How did they get here? What's going on? Mina's also an artist, which I loved. And A.M. Shine has recently released a sequel to this as well. And there also is a film adaptation that was really, really good. Highly recommend that as well. But I think the second book is going to be more cosmic, if that makes sense, because in the first book, we're kind of trying to figure out what are the Watchers, and I think that is kind of answered. But then in the second book, I'm hoping it's going to be more of the implications on our world. But that's all I'm going to say about that. I'll leave it at that. But I really thought this was a good read, and it's doing something different. It's not your typical horror. So if you're looking for something that's not the same old, then try this. This could be that for you. This could be what you're looking for. I would also compare this to Bird Box by Josh Malerman. So if you liked Bird Box, I think you would really enjoy this. Lastly, I'm going to tell you about a novel that I would argue is as much cosmic horror as it is Southern Gothic, and that is A House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher. This one is another one that I can't tell you why, because it's in the plot twist, but I just need you to have a little bit of faith in me right now and believe me that it does have a cosmic element in it. However, I think this would be outwardly compared to something more ghosty, but the reality of the matter is where this goes, ghosty does not explain it, okay? So just stick with me on this one. What I loved most about this is the sass and the wit that we get from this main character. The sort of grandma quality of this cover and the dowdiness of it is a bit of a misdirection. I mean, it's definitely apropos for the story, so don't get me wrong, but the vibe, the atmosphere, the energy of this story is so bright. Just cheeky and kitschy and witty. I love our main character, Samantha. She is an archaeologist or something crazy like that and ends up going to stay with her mom. The situation is that mom's not acting right. Mom sounds a little off. So she kind of takes a break and goes to stay with her mom to see what's going on. And she starts learning things about her past, about her grandma, about this like generational trauma and things that are connected to this house. And the house has good bones, but there is something going on with this house that is not right. And the more our main character starts to dig into it and try to figure out what's going wrong, the more things go awry. And it's, again, one of those things where one door leads to more, leads to more, leads to more. It's definitely got that Southern Gothic atmosphere, though, that like roses growing in the garden and slugs crawling through dirt. Like, it feels very rich and hot. This would be something that's a little more off the wall, a little more campy, but very, very well written. I was so impressed by this. This was my first T. Kingfisher book, and I think this is still the only one that I've read of hers. I need to read more. And I know she's got a lot of other cosmic stuff too. I think this one in particular is known to be cosmic by her. For a cosmic good time, come here. Come to this ride. You must be this tall. This is probably the most campy, the most lighthearted on this list, so if that's something that you're looking for, then check this one out. I think you might like it. There we have it. These are the books that I want to recommend to you as kind of out-of-the-box cosmic horror book recommendations. Some that I've heard could veer in this direction as well that I've not read yet and am interested in reading are The Library at Mount Char by Scott Hawkins, Our Share of Night by Mariana Enriquez. This is my first time hearing that that could veer cosmic, but I'm excited about that one. Also, The Croning by Laird Barron, The Ballad of Black Tom by Victor LaVale. But of course, if you have other recommendations for me, please feel free to let me know down below. And again, if you're interested in checking out Magic Mind, feel free to hit that link that I gave you for 20% off. Wryly20 is the code, and the link is just below in the description box. Y'all are the best. Thank you so much for watching this. Hit that subscribe button if you like this kind of content, and stick around. Hit the little bell, and you'll be notified when I make new videos, which is at least twice a month, if not 3 times a month. Don't forget that life is short, my friends, so read Wryly. Cheers, and goodbye!